Hi folks, thanks for joining me. This week's vlog was actually going to be on the river, but we've had so much rain of late, I've thought about giving up fly tying and taking up joinery. I thought I was going to have to build an ark at one point, but luckily Albury Estate has come to my rescue and I've been invited down to Powdermills fishery by Cameron Craigs, the manager. It's on the Albury Estates and this water is reserved for its members and syndicate holders only. So it looks a fantastic lake. It's like Weston Lake in miniature. So without further ado, let's get into it. We all know that fly fishing can be expensive to get into, but it can lead you on a lifelong obsession with fish and fishing, and you can go to destinations around the world. It can be expensive.
This is a journey into money. Loads of money.
Well, you may well spend a load of money, as Harry says, but if you're just starting out in fly fishing, you might want to start with something a little more manageable. So what I've brought along with me today is Wychwood Flow series. This is a 10 foot for a 7 rod, and I've coupled that with the Flow 7/8 reel, and I've got a Wychwood weight forward rocket floater for a 7 on the reel at the moment. I'm going to put that through its paces. Now, as far as budget goes, what do I mean by that? Well, the rod comes in at $64.99, which is very reasonable for a fly rod, and the reel comes in at $54.99. It's reasonable. It's not cheap. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money to anyone really, but as far as rods go, you can spend up to nearly £1,000 now, and if you're only just starting out, I would suggest that spending £1,000 on a rod is extravagant, to say the least. The flow rod is a middle to tip action, so it's quite forgiving, ideal for the beginner. But I'm going to put it through its paces today and give you some more detail on the rod as we go along. Well, let's hear what the manufacturers have got to say about their rod. The Flow range of fly rods has been designed to harness the very latest rod building technology, tailoring them to modern fly fishing techniques, while retaining heritage styling in order to deliver a perfect balance of performance and good looks. It always sounds good in the blurb. So let's see what other features it has. Multi-modulus carbon blank. It's a medium action as they describe it, and I would consider it a medium to tip action, having cast it a few times. It's a 4-piece construction. It's machine reel seat with double up locking rings, hard chrome snake rings. There's alignment guides for putting the rod together, and it comes in a partitioned Cordura rod tube. Let's talk about the reel for a moment. It's a full aluminium fly reel, unique in-house registered design, perfectly balanced symmetrical design, super smooth operation, semi-sealed rule-on drag, extremely lightweight. The 7/8 that I'm using here is 166 grams, but it's you know, lightweight. That's lightweight for the budget. It's absolutely amazing, but it's not the lightest reel you'll get. And economic spool options, so basically you can buy spare spools at a fairly reasonable price. That's the blurb from the manufacturer. Let's get fishing with it and see what I think. Well, I've been fishing with the rod for about half an hour now, I suppose, and funnily enough, both the staff that work at the fishery's been down at the water's edge, and I've given them a shot of the rod, and they were quite impressed with how light it was. But they both admittedly fish quite a lot of rivers and are not used to fishing with 10 foot for 7s. I find it a little heavy, but what really impressed them was the price point. You know, $64.99 for a rod's pretty good, and as a starter rod it's ideal. I find it says it's a middle action, and I said earlier that middle to tip, but I think actually it is quite a middle action. It's very forgiving. You can keep quite a bit of line aerialised for a while. You've just got to give it that little extra time to extend at the back, but it feels nice. It casts a lovely line, and I've had no problems with it. I've tried a couple of roll casts, and it goes out no bother at all. I did catch a fish earlier, and I got the line onto the reel as fast as I could because I wanted to see how the reel performed. And it's a sealed drag, well, semi-sealed drag system, and it was pretty good, I've got to say. Not bad for the money, pretty good value. So yeah, I think if you're looking to take up the sport and you want to buy something that you think you could use for a while, maybe 3 or 4 years, until you decide, you know what, I'm really into this, I'm going to buy the most expensive kit I can afford. Until then, this will serve you well. Well, I've been fishing for a couple of hours now, so what I wanted to do was just tell you how I'm getting on and what tactics I'm using. So I've been fishing with a floating line mostly, and a 10-foot of tippet material and humonguses and orange type lures, and that's producing some sport for a couple of offers, and I've managed to get a couple of fish to the net. Now, they seem to want it really fast. I've tried fishing slow, but to no avail. The quicker you can retrieve, the better, really. So a really quick figure of 8, and if you can't do that, then quick juttering pools, and that'll guarantee you some sport. Well, I've popped round to the other side of the lake. The fishery's starting to get a little busy now, and there's maybe another 6 or 7 anglers here. It's only a 4-acre lake, so finding spots can be quite tough. And I'm now casting across an angled wind, which is not the easiest thing to do. The pulling tactics seem to have dried up a little, so what I'm going to do next is go to the bung. What else is there for it? I just want to speak briefly about my bung setup. So for pleasure fishing, you don't have to be worried about tying on droppers with your bung. So what I've done with mine is I've got about 6 foot of tippet material, and I've tied up this little foam bung, and all it is a bit of the bicoloured foam, and I've inserted a hook into a slit, and I've got it running on the 6-pound tippet, and I've got 2 rig stoppers either side, and I can adjust it as I see fit. And so at the minute the wind's fairly blowing on the lake, so I've got my fly, which is an orange blob, set about 3 foot from my bung. Now, because of the way the wind's blowing, I'm probably only going to be fishing at about 2 feet initially. And what I'll do is give it a couple of casts, cover in the water, and then if I don't get any sport, I'll then drop it down to 4 feet, 5 feet, and so on. You get the picture. But when you're pleasure fishing, this is ideal. Just helps you find where the fish are and at what depth they're holding. Well, there was no rain forecast today, but it's starting to come down fairly steady now. The wind subsided a little bit, which makes casting a little bit easier, but all round the lake it seems to have all gone a little bit quiet. And I knew there was going to be a temperature drop today, but I didn't realise it would affect the fish that much, but it seems that it has. There's still a few fish coming out here and there, but it's slowed down significantly from this morning. Well, tactics wise, what have I done today? Well, initially I set up with the 10 foot for a 7 flow rod that we went into some detail on, and it performed really well, and I fished a humongous, quite a big fly on a 10 foot leader. Quite a fast figure of 8, got me a fish fairly quickly, and later on I roly-polioed it, and I took another fish fairly fast, but I didn't want to do that all day, so I did change through tactics. I went to a small weighted hare's ear at 16, didn't get any joy with that. I went to the bung, which we had a little look at earlier in the video, which produced nothing, but at that point it was fairly howling through here, and the bung was more like a buoy on the North Sea for a while, but it was obviously not the right thing to do. I went back to pooling, and it was tough going, I've got to be honest. I couldn't get anything for a while. I changed from the white flies to a black fly with a 3mm tungsten bead on to get me a bit of depth, and almost instantly I caught a fish, and then almost just as quickly I lost the fish. But you know, it just shows if you chop and change while you're on the water, you will keep getting sport. But it's just a case of don't get stuck in your ways and do change, and you'll continue to catch fish. Well, I fished with a flow rod for most of the day, and I've got to say, for bang for buck, it's pretty impressive. 65 pounds, and it's not the lightest rod on the market by any stretch, but as a beginner's rod at that price point, I'm not quite sure there's anything much better than it, to be honest. Really enjoyed fishing with it. It played fish well. It didn't bend right through, but as it says, it's a middling action, so it did bend quite from the middle to the tip section, and it beat the fish fairly quickly, which is good, because once again Albury's been kind enough to allow me to return the fish I catch, which makes it much easier to film a video. So again, it's been a great day. I've really enjoyed myself, and the only water left on the Albury Estates that I've not fished is Syon Park, but that's a bit nearer London, and I'm not so sure that I fancy fighting the traffic to get through, but never say never, we'll see what happens. Thanks very much for watching. What I'm going to do next is stick a fly up there and a fly up there, and these are flies that have worked particularly well here at Albury today. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click that button, I really appreciate the support. See you all next time.